Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are pulling off a bit of a digital heist to uncover the hidden architecture of exactly how our devices communicate. And maybe more importantly, we're going to look at how ethical hackers test those very connections to keep our data safe. So let's break down the unseen blueprint of the internet.
Okay, let's dive right in by asking a pretty foundational question. How does someone on the outside actually identify and target your specific devices across the massive, sprawling landscape of the internet? Well, it all comes down to addresses, but obviously not the kind you'd punch into a GPS. We're talking about the numerical identifiers that route literally every single piece of data across the globe.
To truly grasp the sheer scale of this digital landscape, consider this mind-blowing number: 3.4 times 10 to the 38th power. That is the total number of unique IPv6 addresses available to us today. See, the original standard, IPv4, was running out of its 4.2 billion addresses, so IPv6 was created using a massive 128-bit address system. To put that into perspective for you, this provides roughly 6 times 10 to the 23rd unique addresses for every single square meter of the Earth's surface. So yeah, it's safe to say no device will ever have to go without an address.
Every great heist needs a meticulous blueprint. So let's get into Act 1, Mapping the Territory, specifically looking at IP and MAC addresses.
First up, we've got IP addresses, which route data over what's called Layer 3, or the internet layer. There's a really vital distinction to make here. Think of your public IP, kind of like your home's global street address. It's assigned by your internet service provider, you pay for it, and it is entirely unique globally, so you can actually access the internet. On the flip side, your private IP is more like the specific room you're sitting in right now. It's generated completely for free by your local router to manage devices just within your local area network, or LAN. It's not recognized over the public internet at all, which, fun fact, originally helped delay the exhaustion of those IPv4 addresses we just talked about.
Now, those IP4 addresses are actually structured into specific blocks. Class A is designed for huge networks, using just 7 bits for the network and a massive 24 bits for the hosts. Class B is for your medium networks, balancing it out with 14 bits for the network and 16 for hosts. And then Class C is probably what you're most used to seeing in small networks. It uses 21 bits for the network and only 8 bits for the hosts, which allows for up to 254 devices.
But while IP addresses are out there routing data across the globe on Layer 3, your device also has a physical address operating at Layer 2, the data link layer. And this is your MAC address. It stands for Medium Access Control. Basically, it's a unique 12-digit hexadecimal physical address that is permanently hard-coded to your device's network interface card right when it's manufactured. Computer, phone, wireless printer, every device has one. So while your IP address might change depending on what coffee shop network you connect to, your MAC address, that acts as your device's unchangeable physical fingerprint on a local network, and it's primarily used by switches to direct traffic locally.
Here's where it gets kinda wild. This seemingly random string of characters actually holds a secret. The first 3 pairs of that 12-digit MAC address identify the hardware vendor. So if a hacker, or just a network administrator, does a MAC address lookup, they can instantly see if a device was manufactured by Apple, or Cisco, or whoever. That is a massive clue for anyone scanning a network, because it instantly reveals the exact types of hardware living inside that environment.
With the target territory mapped out, let's move on to Act 2, knocking on the door with the TCP three-way handshake. The crucial thing here is this 3-step transport layer protocol known as the TCP three-way handshake. TCP, or Transmission Control Protocol, is built for high reliability, which is absolutely essential for things like loading websites or transferring files. The process itself is simple but really elegant. Step 1, the client initiates the connection by sending a synchronize or SYN packet. Step 2, the server accepts it and responds with a synchronize acknowledge or SYN ACK packet. And finally, Step 3, the client sends an acknowledge or ACK packet right back. It's essentially a highly polite, perfectly synchronized greeting. The client says, "Hello, I'd like to talk." The server replies, "Hello, I hear you and I am ready." And the client finishes with, "Great, let's talk." This whole little dance ensures both sides are totally synchronized before a single byte of actual data is ever sent.
The fascinating part? This conversation isn't invisible. If you use packet capture software like Wireshark, alongside libraries like NCAP, which basically bypasses your operating system to access raw network data, network admins and hackers can actively intercept and monitor this exact handshake.
You can watch the SYN, SYN-ACK, and ASIC packets being captured in real time on, say, port 443, which is your standard port for secure HTTPS web traffic. It's literally a digital wiretap showing exactly who is talking to whom.
So, now that we understand the architecture, let's look at how professionals legally infiltrate these systems to test their defenses. Act 3. The sanctioned break-in. Before we break into a system, we got to define who is doing the breaking. Ethical hacking is the process of legally assessing the security of networks to spot vulnerabilities. This is done by white hat hackers. These are professionals who have explicit permission from an organization to find weaknesses so they can be patched up. This is a stark contrast to black hats, who break in maliciously to steal data or drop malware, or even gray hats, who might hack without permission but generally don't have malicious intent.
To do their job effectively, white hats can't just stumble around guessing passwords. They follow a very rigorous 5-stage methodology that mirrors a real-world cyber attack step by step. Let's walk through them. Reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and covering tracks.
It all kicks off with Stage 1, reconnaissance. This is the intel gathering phase. The whole goal here is to understand the target environment before launching any kind of actual attack. This can be passive, where the hacker collects info without touching the target at all, think searching public records or online databases. Or it can be active, where they directly engage the system to find open ports, though to be fair, that does risk tipping off the target. Either way, this step maps out exactly what systems are in place.
Next up is Stage 2, scanning and enumeration. Here, the hacker moves from observation to direct interaction, using automated tools to intimately map the network structure. They'll do port scanning to see which digital doors are unlocked. They'll run network scanning to understand the exact layout of all the connected devices. And, most importantly, they run vulnerability scanning to pinpoint exactly where the exploitable weaknesses actually lie in the system's armor. This stage completely removes the guesswork.
Armed with that meticulously detailed blueprint, they move to Stage 3, gaining access. This is the actual break-in. The ethical hacker simulates how deep a real attacker could penetrate the system by actively exploiting those flaws they just found. And they aren't just trying to get in. They want to escalate their privileges to grab administrative rights or access highly restricted areas of the network.
To make that happen, they use a whole toolkit of tactical exploitation methods. They might use buffer overflows or SQL injection flaws, which is basically inserting malicious code that the system accidentally executes. They might use session hijacking to literally take over a valid user's computer session. Or they could execute man-in-the-middle attacks, intercepting and altering communications between two parties who totally think they're speaking privately.
But once they're inside, the job isn't over. Stage 4 is maintaining access. An ethical hacker needs to prove that a vulnerability isn't just a quick open and shut door. They simulate what's known as Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs. The goal is to install tools like Trojans and rootkits to keep that connection open for the long haul. They're testing if the unauthorized access can actually survive standard security measures, like system reboots or mandatory password changes.
Finally, we reach Stage 5, covering tracks. Because a true digital heist leaves absolutely zero evidence, the ethical hacker has to clean up the target system and return it to its exact original state. This involves erasing any signs of the hack, systematically deleting log files, and scrubbing any records of the intrusion. This is crucial for a couple of reasons. It makes sure the network's performance isn't bogged down by the test, and it perfectly demonstrates to the cybersecurity team exactly how malicious hackers evade detection in the real world.
And that brings our explainer to a close. We've traced the massive scale of IP addresses, uncovered the hard-coded reality of MAC addresses, watched devices literally shake hands, and followed the exact 5 steps professionals use to break into these networks. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. With so many tools constantly scanning, mapping, and logging our every digital move, just how much of our digital footprint remains hidden from the very hackers looking for it right now? Thanks so much for learning with us today.